Our guest today is a professional tennis player who was born in Hong Kong but now calls Fishers home. Tara Moore, welcome to the Scuttlebutt Club.
Thank you. Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Okay. Can you, just starting out, give us a brief overview of your tennis background and like your upbringing?
So I have I moved around a lot when I was younger. I was born in Hong Kong, and then when I was 10, I was kind of scouted by Nick Bollettieri. Well, I was actually 8 when he came over to Hong Kong, and he basically, was at an exhibition. I think he was with Serena or something like that. And he came by and saw me hitting, and he was like, wow, you're really good. And my mum was like, she's 8, and he was like, well, in 2 years, if she's still really good, bring her over and we'll train her. And my mum was like, no, we won't. But then, sure enough, when I was 10, I think we kind of knew that was the direction that I wanted to go. I kind of improved a lot over time, and my coach at the time was like, you have to go, it's an opportunity of a lifetime. And we were from a pretty poor family at the time. I remember my stepdad was working 3 jobs to support us, and tennis is expensive in Hong Kong, so it's not like in Fishers where you can go out on a public tennis court and play for free. Like, you have to pay for every minute that you're on the tennis court, and it was difficult. So going to America was kind of like this adventure. Plus, it took a lot of pressure off my dad because I had a sponsor that was paying for everything when I came over here. And then obviously I got a scholarship at IMG to train with Nick. And then my school was paid for by a sponsor. My housing was paid for, car was paid for. So it took a lot of pressure off of my dad. So it's kind of like this grand opportunity to come to America and kind of pursue my tennis dream.
Did they come with you?
I was just about to ask you
my stepdad,
okay.
My stepdad stayed in Hong Kong, and he worked, and he was able to quit 2 of his jobs and focus on one of his jobs, which is great. And my mum came over to America to kind of look after me because I was 10.
Yeah.
Do you have siblings?
No, only child.
Okay.
So it made it a little bit easier. But I mean, my mum and my stepdad, who isn't even my biological father, I mean, they saw each other maybe once or twice a year for a couple weeks at a time. But I can't imagine how difficult that would have been for them, for their relationship to go through this. But it was a sacrifice that kind of my whole family had to take, and it, paid off in the end. Yeah.
I love that. Can you talk about like a little bit where you went after that? Like when you were training.
Where did I go after that?
Well, I mean, like right after training, because I mean, you were 10 when you came over here, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, where did it like go from there?
So from a young age, I mean, I had one option, right? Like I was basically
Were you in Florida?
Yeah, I was in Florida, in Bradenton. I was basically just forged to be a tennis player. I had no other choice. Right. It was the only path that I could take. So I think, the amount of tennis I played during that time was insane. I would wake up at 5 a.m, practice from 6, pretty much go through all day, practicing until 12 in the afternoon, then go to school for 2-3 hours, and then go back on the court from 3-4 p.m. until 8-9 o'clock at night.
And then you
do it all,
there, right?
yeah, and then I'd do it all over again the next day. So
did you love it, or did you ever feel like burnout?
Definitely burnout. I mean, at that young age, you listen to what your mum says or your parents say, so you have no choice. And I think some of it was fun. Being in the group atmosphere was fun because a tennis player, you're always alone, you're always by yourself. So I think having that group environment was great, and being around other girls my age doing the same thing as me. But yeah, I mean, I remember just hating it for a really long time, because what kind of kid would like to be on court for 9 hours a day? Right. And that's how much time I would spend on the court. And everything that I did was for my tennis. So I couldn't go to birthday parties. I couldn't go to the beach with my friends. I couldn't go to even like Target with my friends or anything like that. All my time was spent on the court. So definitely burnout. Yeah, it was rough for very many years.
So then did you stay there through high school?
So I stayed there until pretty much, I believe, 16. So I was there for like 6 years. Yeah, so pretty much all of my high school years I was there. Yeah, really long time. And I think, when I turned 16, I kind of developed my own sort of moral compass and what I wanted to do. And I kind of, a lot of people would say, oh, you rebelled, you did. I think I did what most 16-year-olds would have done, but just in a very unstable environment. You know, I wasn't at home. I never felt like I had any sort of freedom or choice in my life. I always was, there was one path and that was it. So I think when I turned 16, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to England. I'm leaving my mum. I'm going to England by myself. I'm going to do, you know, I'm going to train at the federation there, out there, and I'm going to live my own life, you know, be an adult. You know, I'm 16, I'm an adult or whatever. As close to as adult I could be. So when I moved to England at that stage, a lot of the choices I made were my own, you know. And so I think at 16, I'm sure you guys will understand, it's the time where you know, meet new friends, you sneak out, you stay up late, you meet boys, you meet whatever, you do all this stuff that all teenagers do.
Right.
But I didn't have the forgiveness of parents at that time. Like I was in this like federation where, again, I was just a product. I was just a tennis player. So whenever I made a mistake or I did something wrong, it was like, we're investing so much money into you and you're going out, or you're, you know, late for your curfew, or you're doing all this stuff. And I was always like, oh, I must be a terrible person, or I'm, you know, but I was just a normal teenager.
Yeah.
So I think growing up in that environment was extremely difficult because they gave you adult standards to meet, yet still treated you like a kid.
Like you were under a microscope.
Right. But then they expected you to, you know, have these results that I think it was really inhuman. I think, you know, being a kid and not having just even a parental figure, I mean, yeah, you had to grow up extremely fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a really difficult time. You know, I went through a lot. I went through a lot of, just like I went through like an eating disorder. I went through depression. I went through like all of these stages of my life really early and young, just because I don't think I had the guidance that I needed to become like not normal, but like a mature adult.
Right.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
You're fine. No, I was just gonna say. So then, did you decide at what age that you were gonna go pro?
So I turned pro pretty young. I mean, I was pretty much pro from when I was 10, right?
Yeah. Right.
There was not really...
Like you were on that track.
Right,
so.
yeah. So, I mean, I played juniors all throughout from, you know, 12 onwards. But when I turned 14, that's when you can start playing pro.
Oh,
So I
okay.
pretty much turned pro then and there. You know, school wasn't really an option because back when I played, like now it's great. You have like... you can even earn money and sponsorship through playing tennis. Yeah, because they've changed all the rules and it's a little bit more forgiving. But my day, if you earned like $100, you'd have to explain what you spend that $100 on to make you eligible to play college and receive a scholarship. Mm-hmm. So it was impossible for me because, you know, at 14 I turned pro. So by the time I was 18, I'd already earned, you know, thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
How was I going to explain that and, you know, backdate all that? So it was pretty impossible. I looked into it, but it was just
Before the NIL.
yeah,
stuff.
way before it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like old school. We couldn't even like red shirt then. It was like, yeah, it was like old school.
So were you just traveling like the world at that like age
So at
between 14
yeah.
like
So 14, 15, and people don't really, I don't think they know, but like I was planning airfare travels.
That's what I'm saying.
My
like,
coaches
your
travel.
mom wasn't doing that,
No.
but your coach went with you, right?
Yeah, well, I had a coach, but it was a weird sort of dynamic because he treated me like an adult. Right, but I wasn't
Like
an
a
adult.
business
Yeah, it was a
kinda?
business.
Right.
Yeah, he wouldn't go, Tara, you've got to go pack this, or you've got, you know. He'd be like, okay, see you 10 o'clock tomorrow for our flight, you know.
Yeah.
And he would be like, did you book me a bag? Because I would be the one that's booking it. I'd be the one that's managing my finances. I had to because I was alone, you know. And they give you a certain amount of money for your sponsorship for your year, and you have to budget that.
Yeah.
And how am I supposed to do that at 14?
Yeah.
You know, I don't think many people could even, you know, get to school by themselves at 14. So
Right.
it was a very sobering kind of period of my life because I really had to grow up fast. And
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I mean, I went through a lot of like what people call like rebelling or whatever. And everybody was like, oh, you got kicked out of the National Federation. And I was like, I got kicked out because I was late for curfew once. How many times were you late
Right.
for curfew at your house?
Right.
Tons, right?
Right.
But you wouldn't get kicked out of the house at that age, right?
I'd be like, Mom, I will do the dishes
Yeah,
for
do
a
the
week
dishes.
if you don't tell Dad.
Exactly. So it's kind of like that, and you know, stuff like that. So I think I got this reputation of being this like crazy kid who, you know, got kicked out of the federation, but I was just a normal kid not knowing how to manage.
Yeah. How long were you there for?
So from 16 until, I mean, on and off until I was like 20 something.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah, I got kicked out and then brought back in because I was doing good, and then kicked out and then brought, I mean, I was always doing well at this time. So it wasn't like I was, you know, rebelling and then not able to play tennis. I was still a good junior. I was still a good professional player. I was still doing all the things that I needed to do.
Yeah.
But it was just I don't know. It was a really weird time. I don't know how else to explain it. I think nowadays with all the sort of, you know, well-being and wellness kind of things, mental health stuff, I don't think what happened to me, and I hope what happened to me didn't happen to other people. I don't think.
That's so true.
Yeah, I really don't think that
I feel like you hear about that in a lot of sports, like young gymnasts, like that are on like the Olympic track back then.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, it was
like
such
that.
a stigma then too,
Yeah.
you know, to talk about that.
for
And
sure.
now it's more like a common
I think so.
situation.
And I think I remember, like, you know, we had again another group of 5 or 6 girls that were there at the same time that I was, and we all went through the same thing. So it wasn't like it was just me going through
Yeah,
it. Like
right.
we all were suffering mentally. We all were, you know, everybody had an issue at some stage, which is terrible.
Normal,
Yeah, it's
though?
normal.
Like-
back
Normal,
then,
but
but terrible
yeah.
to really think about,
Right.
because how can you push, you know, 5 or 6 teenage girls to some sort of mental health issue? I think that's really dangerous, and I think that it does need to be looked into.
Yeah.
I you know,
Yeah, I wonder if it's changed much, you know?
I think parents are just probably more involved now, which is good, because, you know, you have to have a parental guidance. But yeah, when in the world of sports, and I think there's so much money involved, and you see some of the younger girls who do come up really early and quickly, and you have a lot of success and a lot of attention, a lot of money, like you can see that they're struggling, you know. So I think it's just, I wouldn't even know how to guide someone if they would, you know, it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's always going to be difficult.
So then where did you go after that?
So I stayed in England for
Oh, you did?
for a really long time. I think pretty much, even if I left the federation, I would train somewhere else. And I met one of my coaches, John Morris, and he's still a great friend to this day. And you know, he knew, or he felt that I had the talent, even if I was kicked out of the federation. So he kind of took me under his wing, and he was like a parental figure to me, which I hadn't had anywhere else that I'd been. So he kind of guided me for quite a while. And, you know, I went through the stage of, I'm going to quit. I'm not going to play anymore. I'm going to get a normal job. And he was like, no, you've got to play. Like, you really are good. And I think I found the passion for it again slowly, because it really did at one stage just completely go. I was like, this is a job. This is horrible. I don't want to do this. I've been doing this for too long. I've been doing this since I was 10.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I had always not met the expectations that not only other people set on me, but I think what I set on myself too. So I was always like this failure in my own head and in everyone else's. And so coming back and trying to play again at 21, 22, which is so young,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I was like, oh, I've wasted all these years now. You know, and at 22, it's like, you guys know, you think it's like the end of the world.
Right,
like,
right.
you know, any sort of pushback from anything is like the end of the world. So I think at that time I was incredibly grateful for him to sort of just pick me up and be like, you know, you're not just a tennis player, you're a person as well. You're a good person. And so work on yourself first and then be a tennis player second. And I think I've always taken that from him even into now.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah. So it's, you know, maybe I would not meet the expectations of my tennis goals, but if I meet the expectations of my own personal goals and
Yeah.
my own sort of moral ground, I think I'm happy, you know.
Yeah.
So that's helped a lot.
All right. Are you ready to talk about what happened in Colombia?
Yeah, all right, where do we start?
I'd love to.
Well, take us from where you just ended to up to there. Like, you were doing great,
Yeah. you know,
highly ranked.
Yeah, playing a lot of doubles tournaments and starting to do a little bit better. And I think the transition from playing singles and going, okay, right, I'm going to focus more onto doubles is a tough task anyways, because you have to change your mindset. You're not only this one person, you're suddenly this team.
Yeah.
So finally making that choice, and then, you know, playing doubles and doing well and getting to the Grand Slams and having that opportunity of, you know, the big leagues kind of, you know, playing the Grand Slams, bigger tournaments. finally feeling like I've actually achieved what I've wanted to achieve for so long with my singles, even though I played Grand Slams with my singles, but I never felt like I truly belonged. And then I did feel like that when I played doubles. So I think when this happened to me in Colombia, it was such a shock because one, you don't expect it. It's something, there's tons of things that you kind of look for or you're wary of or whatever. But when you're so far removed from something, like match fixing or anti-doping or stuff that is, I feel like it's something that's, it's part of my character to not do stuff like this. I didn't even really think about it. It was something that I was so far removed from.
Right.
So when this happened, I didn't believe it in the beginning. When I heard the news, like I was kind of like, this hard? Like me? Like, do you have the right person?
So tell everyone.
Yeah, tell everyone what
playing
happened.
So I was playing in Colombia, and then I played my first round match, and I got tested straight after that.
And that was like common, like
Common.
matches.
There's a lot of people, you get tested quite often, and in Colombia I knew we were going to get tested because we get tested every time we go to Colombia.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't a shock to me.
Right.
We all knew. So came off court, did my anti-doping test, didn't think anything of it, right? You kind of think, I took a doping test, in a couple weeks it's all gone, it doesn't matter, you won't hear anything about it. You don't hear anything about it if you don't test positive.
Okay.
Okay.
So
don't get like an email.
No, you don't
or
get
anything.
an email. You don't get anything even telling you, hey, your
Congrats.
test is clean. Yeah, congrats, you're clean. Which I find really strange.
Yeah,
now
it is
looking back on
strange.
it, like if they tell you that you're positive, surely they should say, hey, all good.
Right.
Do you know? Like,
Yeah.
And it's just a common courtesy. But their excuse for it is like, well, if you're not doing anything, then you
Why
don't
are
need to
you
worry.
worried?
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's like, well, I didn't do anything, but I still failed a drug test. So, so, played actually that tournament, made finals there, and then went to the French. I don't know if we played something in between, but went to the French Open, which was, I think, fast forward like 5 or 6 weeks later.
Oh, okay.
Won my first round at French Open, happy because Clay's my worst service and I was still able to win a match. But winning a round in a Grand Slam is always special.
Huge,
Right.
Yeah.
So winning first round in Grand Slam, excited to play my match the next day. And then I remember getting this text on my phone, and it was something like, you have a new message from the anti-doping organization, check your messages. And we get that same message for when they update banned substances. So
okay.
Yeah, so it's like a generic message. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, no.
You think it's just like a newsletter type
and
thing.
I remember asking my doubles partner at the time, I was like, sat next to her, I was like, hey, did you get this message too? And she was like, no. And I remember not thinking that much of it because sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't, as text messages.
Right.
So I was kind of like, oh, okay, that's a bit weird. And I was trying to sign in, couldn't remember my password. Like, it's not something you sign into that often because again, you read the notices and then you kind of don't read them for like you forget about it, and then whenever they send you a new one, you read the notes. But it's not that often. It's like every couple of months that they send you
Especially if it's not something you're worried about anyway. It's
Right.
like whatever.
It's something that you're aware of, but it's something that like you don't take drugs. I mean, I barely take Advil, so it wasn't
Right.
something I was even so later on that night, get a call from the supervisor, and I thought that our opponents had withdrawn because that's normally when you get messages from the supervisor, and he was like, no, you need to read your email. So I was like, oh, okay. So I opened my email and I was like, and I remember just having this like out of body experience, being like, what do you mean I failed a doping test? Like what doping test? Like, how have I failed a doping test? What happened? Who, like, have you got me mixed up? Is this wrong? Like, have I been set up? Like, where's the cameras? You know? And I remember just like feeling like something just had collapsed, and I was sat there and I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, we have to pull you out. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, really sorry. Like, and he's like, I'm really sorry, but this is the protocol. Like, this is what you're gonna have to do. You're gonna have to, speak to someone and try and figure out what happened from there. And he's like, I'm sure it's all a mistake. You'll figure it out. And I was like, well, it must be a mistake,
Yeah.
And so then that, and you know what, like, I don't know if any player that I've spoken to and me prior to this situation, I had always thought that there would be some sort of itinerary that
Yes.
To follow.
to
Yes.
follow.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so this would happen to you, and then so-and-so would reach out to you, and then you would go, oh no, this wasn't me. I didn't do it. Trust me, you know, and then they would try and help you figure it out, or something like that. Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was like
You're on your
suddenly
own.
I was just blacklisted from everything. Like, so I couldn't even go on to site. I couldn't even take transport. So he had to clear me to be able to take transport to the airport. Yes,
Just to
because I was
leave.
blacklisted, you know. And I'm thinking, like, you know, what is it? So that night I remember just like Googling everything
Yeah.
that you possibly
So
could.
did
'cause
it say in your email what?
yeah, it said
the
like what the
substances-
substances were. Like, and I was like, what is this? Like,
Right.
I've never even
Heard
heard
of
of
it?
this. I don't know what it is. And then like I would Google it and it was like steroids, and I was like, what do you mean steroids? How is this in my system? What have you know? What did I do? Did someone spike my drink? Did
Yeah.
someone, you know, lace my food? I don't know. Is this test even mine? Like,
Yeah.
that's
Right, like, is
all
there a
the
mix
yes,
up?
like that's all the things that you think of first, and you know. And then, you know, someone suggests you need to get a lawyer. So then I'm looking for this lawyer and I don't know where to look.
Yeah. How overwhelming is that?
I've never had a lawyer in my
Right.
life, you know. I haven't even had a parking ticket before. So I was like looking for a lawyer, and then they were like, you need to do this, and I was like, I was so overwhelmed. And I remember just not sleeping for 2 weeks. Like, I mean, I would fall asleep sporadically, and I remember just like springing back up and be like, oh my God, it was horrible. I don't think I slept for a good 3 months after that, like an actual real sleep. And I felt just like there was nothing that I could do. It was a really, really horrible time. And I don't know. Yeah.
So did the email say like your ban or you failed because of this, but then did it give you like a ban or like a sentence?
It was basically like, you have been provisionally suspended. We're not going to announce anything yet. Please speak to your representative about, you know, what it is, like, and then be in contact with us. Something along those lines.
So vague.
It was very much like, what do I do?
Right.
You know, I had no idea. So I reached out to a couple of lawyers, and then I remember speaking to one lawyer and I was at I was actually at a train station to go back to England from French Open. And it was like the next day, and I was anxiously waiting for this phone call from him. So he calls me and I'm like, oh, you know, there's this. And he's like, send it over. So I send it over to him and he reads it and he's like, oh, you're like, oh, this is bad. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to jail. Like, literally, that was my first thought. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to jail. Like, because he was so negative about it. And I was like panicking. I remember just panicking, being like, oh my God, this is it. This is my career's done. Like, all of this stuff. And I was like, I didn't even do anything. Like, if I did something, fair enough, right? Like, you
Right.
take the consequences that you've done. But I haven't done anything.
It's so scary.
Yeah. And so then I spoke to a couple other lawyers, and they were a lot more positive about the thing. They were like, you know, there is things we can do.
Yeah.
And then, you know, then it comes to the cost. And I'm sure you guys know too, like, you get what you pay for, right?
Right.
So if you pay $5,000 for a lawyer, you get a $5,000 lawyer. And in anti-doping, it's such a niche profession. There's only such a small pool of people that do it, and that do it well, and that have been doing it for so many years, and they're really freaking expensive. So that was a really daunting process, because I had just started doing well and being able to sort of be, you know, afford a better lifestyle, afford like going to these tournaments and not have to think about my bank account, afford savings and all that kind of stuff. And then to hear, yeah, you know, this is going to cost over 200, 300, possibly more, like thousands of dollars, you know? So everything that you've kind of saved up and what your plans are, you know, I was 29 at the time, I think I was. So you're thinking, I want to have a house. I want to be able to do the normal things that a 30-year-old would be able to do, you know? So all of those savings that you had for that are gone. Yeah, gone. Like, gone in their retainer, because my retainer, it was so much.
Yeah.
You know, like thousands. Like, you don't even think that you're gonna see a bill that big with that many zeros at the end of it. So it was really scary.
Tell us how much digging you had to do to figure out.
Personally,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think that I'm probably like more of a stickler for that than most people. I think even my lawyers were saying like that I contacted like farmers from Colombia. I contacted like, you know, local suppliers of meat there, and I contacted restaurant owners that own the restaurants that I had food at, because I kept track of what I ate. I know what I like. I can, you know, I would say I take pictures of the majority of things that I eat genuinely, like just because it's interesting going to different countries and at the time eating different foods. So I was like, oh, this is really, you know, interesting. So I would take pictures. So I actually have a very good sort of food diary pretty much. And I eat a ton of meat. So I don't like breakfast at all. Like I really tend to avoid it as much as I can, unless I'm playing matches. So when I play matches, what I try and do is I get something from the night before and have leftovers, especially in a place like Colombia where the food's not like normal, like it's not normal, but like it's not my home cuisine.
Right.
If I'm in the States, it's, you know, a little bit easier. You kind of know what you're getting, but I don't like cereals. I don't really like oatmeal. I don't like bars. So for me, breakfast is pretty difficult. So a lot of the nights there, I mean, most of the next mornings there, I would eat what I had the night before. And I had been to the same place over and over again. So the same suppliers, probably the same meat, the same cattle, because it's from the same place.
Same place.
Same place.
Same week,
short
same
time.
time.
Same week, same dish. I would have the same dish, you know. So, you know, I had the same thing for like 5 days in a row, 4 or 5 days in a row. So,
so you'll never know.
No,
right?
Never. No, you'll never be able to find. Yeah,
and you speculate that it was contaminated meat,
right?
And that's what they found, right?
Yeah. So
how long were you out?
So it's a very rolling back to like speculation.
Oh, sorry.
It's more of an educated guess, right? So again, because if you're not directly injecting something into your veins or taking something orally or whatever, yes, it's like one of those things. It's you have to. But from what we deduced and from what I ate and from the previous pasts of like what they use in cattle in Colombia, it is a very high chance that it is from that, and I believe that it's from that.
And
because
someone else also
someone
positive.
else tested positive, and another girl also had the same thing in her system. She wasn't at the threshold to warrant as a
but you guys were all at the same
all
place,
same, ate the same
time.
things. Yeah, exactly. Well, I ate pork. They didn't eat pork. So I asked like pretty much everyone at the tournament
what they had.
if they ate, like, and I was really trying to figure out, you know.
Well, I bet a lot of people can't even recall what they ate 6 weeks. You know, like
it wasn't like the previous weekend. It had been weeks.
Well, I think that tennis players are a little bit more.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, even though
like
we don't.
Professional athletes in general.
Yeah, so we still tend to know, like, you know, a lot of players don't eat pork because just because they don't eat pork.
Right.
You know, a lot of people don't eat red meat because they don't eat red meat. So they can tell you, like, if I say, hey, specifically, hey, did you eat pork the last 3 weeks? You can pretty much go, even you, like, for like, you probably like,
that's true.
I don't think I did, you know.
Exactly.
So I asked those questions, like, did you eat red meat there? And, you know, there was some people that would say yes, some people that say no. And weirdly enough, a lot of players don't eat red meat. Okay. They either don't do it because of personal beliefs, or they also don't do it because they're just, you know, they're vegan or they're vegetarian and red meat doesn't feel good for them. And whereas I'm the opposite. I'm like, don't give me carbs, give me red meat, you know? So yeah. And I love pork as well, because growing up in Hong Kong, like, pork is a huge thing. It's, you know, it reminds me of home. So in Colombia, pork and steak and cattle are like the two biggest things to eat there. And everybody's always like, yeah, the meat's great there, you know?
Yeah.
So those are two things that I was just like, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you know? So, yeah.
So even if some people did eat that, they might only had it once and then it didn't even show up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like you never know.
It depends when you eat it as well. Like, if you eat it like 7 days before, it's not going to show up. But so I had dinner, I remember, with, you know, a couple other girls, and the girls that did eat red meat didn't get tested. The girls that
was it a random test?
So it's normally random, yes.
Okay.
But it also depends. Yes. Like, for the broad term, yes, even though I've been tested.
Not all of you in that tournament are getting tested.
No, not everyone. And also, depends.
You're getting tested on suspicion now. And
yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%, which is fine. I'm happy to be tested.
Yeah, you're like, great.
I'm like, great, test me, you know. But like in Colombia, the chances of you being tested is a lot higher. So there was a couple girls that lost like a day or two before us, because we played like Wednesday and they played Monday, and they weren't testing on Monday. So
then when you're out, you can
so
leave
then when
and
you're out, you
not-
don't get tested,
Okay.
you know, right? Because you're not in the testing pool. Like if you're in a testing pool, that's different. They can show up at your house at 5 a.m. That's a whole different animal.
Oh, wow.
But if you're at tournaments, like in tournament testing, normally they test you after a match. So they grab you after a
Interesting.
match. Whether you win or lose, they'll test you. So yeah, so a couple girls that ate meat with us didn't get tested. My doubles partner at the time, she doesn't eat meat at all. And she doesn't eat pork because of religious reasons. She's Muslim. Like her family are Muslim, so she didn't eat pork. So she got tested, but doesn't eat meat. I actually ate her meat. You know?
Like, I'll take that.
Yeah, no, because I would always be
Yeah.
like, oh, you take my potatoes or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yes.
And I'll take your meat.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
like I would always be like that. So yeah, it definitely I had a lot of meat that week. Yeah.
Was I don't know if you can talk about this, but the amount that showed up, was it not a ton, or like?
So they test in any cases, like I'm sure with like the whole Ega and
Yeah,
Sinner
Sinner,
thing.
that's what
like,
I keep
yeah,
reading
like
about.
like pictograms or whatever. Yeah, they test. I mean, they don't test for milligrams or
Okay.
micrograms or anything. They test for nanograms. So it's
crazy.
like smaller than a grain of
Smallest
sand.
amount.
So, and I understand their thinking and their logic behind it is that like, oh, you know, you could have taken it 2 weeks ago and now there's a nanogram in your system, and then, you know, so I completely understand that. But when there's systematic, there's a known use of steroids in a certain country of, you know, and it's so prevalent that it's in 1 in every 3.7 pieces of meat. Like, and, you know, and those are the 2 substances that show up on a test, and
Right.
they use those substances. Surely common sense would bring
Right.
you to the conclusion that, you know, it's from meat contamination. And it's not something that, like, I don't know. It's not one of those drugs that's going to like like tennis is, at the end of the day, you can take as many drugs as you want. At the end, it's still a skill sport. So, you know, taking a steroid's not really going to help your skill. So yes, it can help your recovery, but I'm playing doubles.
Right.
Like what would I need to
Right.
do really? Like it really just was so beyond my thinking of anything that I would never cheat in anything, not even like on line calls. Like, you know, so it was just, I understand their logic behind testing
Right.
for micrograms or pictograms or whatever they're testing for, nanograms, but at the same time there needs to be like some sort of common sense and logic behind contamination, because it does happen. Like look at Sinner, look at
Right.
Iga. Definitely I would say it's contamination. Like I'm sure they weren't doing this on purpose, but at the same time, if it can happen to them who are in such controlled environments, they have physios, they have nutritionists, they have coaches, they have people around them, and it still happens to them. Of course it could happen to me. It could happen to you guys, you know what I
Right.
mean? We could test you now and you probably might have some, you know, I don't know.
Does it make you worry with
100%.
what you eat now? Like
100%.
just
And
double.
it scared every single
That's what I was
person
gonna
around
say,
me
the
too.
anxiety you must have.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so overly diligent now, you know. I don't take any medication. Any
Like
medication.
no supplements, nothing like that.
I take, the only things that I take are like Advil or like Tylenol or something like that. And then I take one thing that is not, it's like prescribed by my doctor.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And I know that it's like medical grade tested.
right.
And I won't even buy that outside of like US or the UK or Australia. Those are the only 3 places that I would really
So like,
trust
what
to
do
buy
you
it.
do when you go to like South America now
Suffer.
and eat?
Suffer. You don't eat meat. I don't eat meat. I warn every
Pack
single
stuff?
player. I mean, so I was thinking so Colombia's actually coming up in a couple weeks, in like 4 weeks.
That is, does that not
And
give
you're
you like
going?
PTSD?
I don't know. So I'm like umming and ahhing whether I should go back, and honestly, like part of me is like, do I, you know, show a strength and resilience and go
Right.
out there and really just be brave, because I did nothing wrong.
Right.
You know, I know that meat's an issue out there. Don't eat meat. You know, I probably would pack a suitcase of my own food if I was
Yeah.
to go out there,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
like
Don't blame
noodles
you.
or something.
Yeah.
Or do I just not put myself even through that misery and just, you know, but I don't know. I don't ever want to live my life in fear.
Right.
And I've had so much fear in my life the last couple of years. Like I don't know. I'm still in two minds about it. So
Yeah.
it'll
I
be
see where
difficult.
you are in that. Like, just talking to you now, I'm like, I could see you being like, no, I'm going because
Yeah.
I'm going to prove that
Exactly.
this
Yeah.
wasn't. But at the same time, it's like, how much of your mental health do you need to protect?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for
in
sure.
that situation.
Yeah. It's difficult. I think, yeah, you know, even the fact that we're being put in these situations and going to these places that actually have these issues is wild anyways.
Right.
But it is part of the job. Like, you know, we have to be careful, but you know, even speaking to a lot of my peers now that I have grown close to over the past couple of months, they come up to me and they're like, can I drink this? Like, you know, can I have this
they know
protein
you've
shake?
done-
Yeah, can I have this protein shake from this tournament? And I'm like, you know,
You're like, don't ask me. I
was
don't
like-
want to be.
I was like, I wouldn't. Like, you know, don't risk it. But like, if you think, you know, if it's plant protein or it's from the tournament, like, you know, all of this stuff, I'm like, you have to be super diligent. Like,
Right.
whatever you put into your body, take a picture of it. You know,
Yeah.
That's good advice.
yeah, write
Have
it down.
receipts.
Yeah, have receipts, have all of this stuff. And I mean, I had all of that, and it still is a process.
Yeah.
So yeah, the most you can, like the least you can do is protect yourself is by recording absolutely everything you do.
Yeah, that's good advice.
So you were out 19 months. Is that correct?
So actually, I pretty much was out for, I mean, I didn't know if I was ever going to play again, but I was out for 2 years, basically.
2 years.
I was out 19 months because I was provisionally suspended for 19 months, but then I didn't play for 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, it was literally basically bang on 2 years.
And that's when you came back, or when you first came to
Yeah.
Indiana, and how we met
No,
you.
so I actually came to Indiana way before that.
Oh,
So
you did? Oh, I
came
didn't know
during
that.
Yeah, I came during COVID, but
Oh, okay.
I was actually because obviously I was still playing during COVID.
Yeah.
A lot of my time, I mean, well, COVID I spent at home, obviously, but a lot of my time it was just spent training, and it was just a base that I kind of
Okay.
moved in and out of. And I met Bryant during that time, like at CSW, and he, you know, he allowed us to use his facilities indoors because it's freezing here.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were able to kind of use CSW and as more of a training ground. And then when this happened to me, I mean, he was probably one of the first people I reached out to because I wanted a job. Because
Yeah, 'cause
I
it
was
was like,
like,
what
what
did
am
you
I going
do
to do?
for
I need to
2
make money to
years?
pay for these
Right.
lawyers. Yeah. So he was one of the first people that I reached out to and was like, hey, you know, can I coach some adults and, you know, earn some money? I don't know. So, yeah, so that was really kind that, you know, he was able to give me that opportunity, and, you know, I met all you guys. So
Yeah. Okay, so then was it December of 23?
yes, yes, 23. So not last, yes.
I know.
Like
I lose track
almost
of
a
all-
year and a half
yes,
ago?
almost a year and a half ago.
Okay.
Yeah, December 2023. My case was heard the 18th and 19th of December, and I heard back the 22nd of December. But it was officially announced the 24th of December
So right
that
in
I was
time
cleared.
for Christmas.
Yeah, right in
Yeah,
time, which
Merry
is
Christmas.
yeah, fantastic.
Best gift.
I mean, yeah, it was a great time, you know, and I was over the moon. It was, you know, I could, even if I didn't know if I was going to play again, because I wasn't ready, because I didn't know what, you know, how
Right.
long it was going to take or whatever. But just being, you know, told what I've known all along, that I was innocent, was just like, yeah, incredible. So it was a great time, and it was short-lived though. Like, honestly, I think 2 weeks later they had already appealed. And, you know, if they had another reason to appeal, if they found new evidence or they have a new study or something, I would kind of understand their choice in appealing. But no new evidence, no new findings. They just appealed because they could. So again, yeah, that was back in January 2024.
24,
So
yeah.
yeah, so what,
Yeah.
2.5 years later, pretty much now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's just like another slap in the face.
Yes. Oh, not 2.5, a year and a
A
half.
year,
Yeah, year
yeah.
and a bit.
Like,
So
yeah.
yeah, so it's just, again, been a whole new process with waiting for my appeal, and it's soon. I mean, so yeah, just have to hope that the truth comes out again, you know.
Again.
Yeah.
What has this done for you, like, mentally? Like, has it made you feel like resentment towards people, or
You know, in the beginning, yes. I think for the first year, it was a very dark period of my life. I think I'm a very positive, happy person naturally. I think I always try and see the positives in everything. It was very hard to see the
Yeah.
positive in this.
Yeah.
It was, you know, I'm like, honestly, at some points I'm surprised I'm sitting here with you guys now because I was that depressed. I think it was and as much as people can say, oh, I relate to you, you can't,
It's so
and
specific.
and I couldn't explain, like, even months and years into it, because I waited years. Like, it wasn't like a month or two.
Right.
I waited years for my case to be heard. So feeling this weight on my shoulder for not 1 year, not 2 years, now going on 4.5 years. Like, if I would have just taken the ban in the beginning, I'd be free now. Right? At the end of this year.
That's crazy.
That's
to think
crazy.
about.
Right?
Yeah.
So going through all of this and it's difficult. And then now having to go through it a second time is even more difficult, because even though I'm able to play and I'm free, it's almost like you're playing but with shackles on your ankles.
Yeah.
It's every time I play a match, it's in the back of my mind. Is this the last match that I get to play? Like, is this the last time that I'm gonna, and you want to believe that the truth will come out, but I think I've definitely got more of a pessimistic side now, and I think it's evil can win sometimes, and I'm just always afraid of that. So it's been difficult, and I think I've changed a lot in the terms that, like, I'm a lot more pragmatic in the way that I'm thinking about things, rather than just being like before. I'm like positive, everything is great, you know, everything's good. So yeah, it's definitely changed me a lot, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how it wouldn't.
Yeah.
Did you lose any like sponsorships or like professional relationships when this all happened?
I think I alienated myself from the situation,
interesting.
because even coming to like coach at CSW in the beginning, I think, you meet these new people and they're like, oh, what did you used to do? Because, that's normal. Where did you used to work? And like my first thing I've always identified as a professional tennis player.
Right.
So I would be very quick to be like, and I'm like, do I want to tell people this? Because if you Google me,
Yeah, because then like
all of this
Right.
crap comes up, and I don't associate with this. Yet you're someone new that I've met. You don't know me.
Right.
So you're
And
going to...
if you go read all those headlines.
Yeah, like that's the first thing,
Yeah.
Did
Like,
she?
oh, she's back in Fisher's
Yeah,
Indiana
now
because
she's
she
like,
failed to
trust
turn
her.
Right, exactly. So it was very much like I went through this period of not knowing who I was, how to identify myself. I lost my dignity. I lost my image. I'd lost everything, and through no fault of my own.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So
That's just so scary to me.
Yeah.
You know what I
No.
mean? It's
No,
like,
it is. So I don't think that I'd lost any sponsors in terms of like, I had spoken to them and I told them already, and I alienated myself before they could do it to me, because as a form of protection, I was like, this has happened to me. Like, I need to, like, and so I think for a really long time, like, I think I had to learn how to re-identify myself. Like, I wasn't a tennis player anymore, and telling people that I coach tennis or I hit, with people. I don't know. It was a really odd.
yeah, because that's been in your head since you were 8.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's like-
exactly. So
That's all you knew.
it was really odd. Yeah.
So what are the plans? Like, what's the comeback going forward?
It's been.
I feel like you've been
it's
doing...
been extremely difficult, honestly. I think.
Because you've been playing in 2024, right?
Yeah. So I started mid 2024. So going on like what, 8 months now, 9 months,
Okay.
9 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. So mid 2024, and there's been a lot.
You lost your ranking too, right?
Yeah, I lost my ranking completely. So had to start kind of from scratch. So I got a protective ranking. So to explain this, so basically a protective ranking was used. So I'm the first person ever that it's been used on for someone who has been exonerated from an anti-doping
Wow.
thing.
Oh,
So the first
okay.
person ever, which is cool in a
Yeah.
way. But also I think they're still figuring out a lot of kinks with it. Like, there's still a lot of trial and error with it. So basically a protective ranking is, let's say if I get injured for a year and I'm out for a year, I lose my ranking, obviously. So you get a certain amount of tournaments with that protective ranking that you stopped at, that you can use to enter tournaments with.
Okay, so you're
Yes.
not doing
So
like
moving
a
forward.
qualifying.
No, but so that protective ranking doesn't move. So let's say my protective ranking was 88. So that protective ranking doesn't move up, but it doesn't move down either. So you're just 88. So whether you win matches or not, you're 88. and it gives you the opportunity to enter tournaments that are higher than your actual ranking because you're starting at nothing, right? But your live ranking moves from the wins and not your protective, if you understand what I'm saying. And it's limited, so you only get a certain amount of tournaments with it.
So would you enter like bigger tournaments with that?
Yeah, so like so I played Australian Open in January. I played US Open in September, and then I had a wild card from the All England Club for Wimbledon. So that was through that. But like, think about this for a second. So if I was my normal ranking, like actually live 88, right, I'd be able to play all 4 Grand Slams, but because of a protective ranking, you're only allowed to use it on 2. So it's and you're only allowed to use it on 12 tournaments. So it's like
there's a little disclaimer.
Help. It's of course it's a big help. Like, it's better than having nothing, right? But at the same time, it's like, I didn't do anything wrong to lose my ranking. Why is my ranking not just reinstated? And I asked a lot of people this, and I was like, tell me the truth, okay? Like, if they just said, Tara, you're 88 in the world again, the points that you had from the time that you stopped are just like they were the year before, and your ranking is live, would you have been like, why did you give Tara her live ranking back? Everyone has said no, because it's so rare that this happens. It's like one every couple of years, maybe.
And it would be different. I'd be like, why is she getting that back if you were found guilty?
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? But it's like, this
completely
is
cleared. Yeah.
Right.
So that's what so I was thinking, when I'm really through the other end of it, like, is that something that I want to advocate for and, try and push for? And these are all great things to think down the road, but I'm still in such like the thick of it.
Right.
Yeah. That I'm just trying to think one day at a time, So yeah, it's a weird one. Having a protective ranking is a weird kind of place to be in.
So you'll play in more tournaments this year and get your ranking?
Yeah. I mean, so I'm supposed to go to Turkey in a couple weeks. So yeah, a couple more tournaments, but it's difficult, you're 2 years, like, basically just out of the game.
Hitting with me?
No, actually, honestly, coaching helped. Like,
it really?
It really did.
You saw it from like a different perspective.
Yeah, it helped in terms of like my tennis knowledge, for sure. I think it's always difficult coming back, just believing yourself that you're still at that level, that you still can do it. You're 2 years older, and like, I'm sure you guys know too, like, you get to a certain age and like every year you feel, oh, my neck's hurting a little more.
We talk about this all the time.
Exactly. So I don't bounce back as quickly as I did even 2 years ago when this happened.
Which adds more to the suckiness of the whole situation, being like, okay, the older you get, the harder it is.
Exactly.
And then we lost 2 years. It's like,
and I admit, like, when this first happened to me, I avoided everything to do with tennis outside of coaching. I avoided it completely because I was so turned off with it. I was so depressed with it. I couldn't go to the gym. I mean, I couldn't go to HIIT. I hated it. I didn't enjoy it anymore. Like, I really didn't enjoy it anymore, because the one enjoyment that I had with professional tennis and playing tennis was the travel, the competitive attitude that you go out and you play tournaments. That's the part that I really enjoyed, and that was taken away from me. So, I didn't go out and play proper tennis for a good, year.
Yeah.
Like, nothing. Didn't go to the gym for a year. I mean, I didn't do anything. So I lost tons of weight at the time. I'd lost like 30 pounds, but it was all muscle. Yeah. So it was a very odd time, like, going through this transition of becoming this normal person. It was weird.
What's like the ideal ending to all this for you?
I think, honestly, just for the truth to come out. Like, I think after all of this,
again,
like,
just like the final truth,
the final truth, and I can actually move on with my life and play tennis and actually finish my career the way I want to. Find the love and passion again for tennis, which honestly, coming back this time, I found, like, I enjoy it a lot more because it was taken away from me for so long. But it's difficult because I still have this cloud hanging over me. Yeah. So I think when that cloud is removed, will I be like, wow, this is great. I don't have anything to worry about anymore. I can just play tennis. But tennis has such a caveat for me at the moment because it's like, is this the last tournament? should you really try that? So it's constantly this
And
pull.
it's expensive, right?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Extremely expensive. I mean, because obviously I had a steady job for a little while, having that stream of income was so nice. And then now going back and it's like, I don't have any money anymore again. Like I'm constantly trying to think of ways to raise funds. I'm still trying to coach around it, but you don't want to coach. I mean, I'm tired most days, after I've
you're like
practiced for 3
it's
hours.
physical. You're not just
Professional
standing there.
athlete.
Yeah.
Practice for 3 hours, then go to the gym, and then you're like, oh, you got to go work for,
Yeah.
like, so for example, like I worked this morning for an hour, and I was like, okay, and I have to go back again this afternoon and work again, and I'm like, and I also practiced, and I went to the gym, and I was like, do I really want to go back this afternoon? I'm like, but I need that money. I need it, I need that money so I can go play tournaments. So I'm constantly trying to figure out things that I can do to just let me have the opportunity to play. That's really what I want to do. I would love to be able to just afford to go and play a run of tournaments, and that's what I think I was the most upset about, was that I was actually at that point.
Right.
And then it was just completely taken away. Like, the rug was completely pulled out from underneath me again. So
Can you, like, when they found you not guilty or whatever, can they, like, pay you?
So yes, whenever this is
Back?
like completed, like I think that's when we figure out like what kind of financial, like whether I get something back or whether I don't, it's still a possibility that I wouldn't, even if I won. But again, that's so far in the future for me. I don't even want to think about that right now, because I still have so many things that are still, needing, that I need to pay for now.
Right.
Like I can't pay for something if I promise you to pay you back in like, it just, I just can't. Yeah. So I don't know.
Can people locally, like, reach out for lessons or clinics or stuff?
100%. Like, I think, one of the things that I really have enjoyed throughout my coaching experience is just showing, especially adults, because I think kids, everything's new for them still, right? But for adults, like having played tennis for so long, they kind of get stuck in this little rut, and they're like, I'm a 3-0 for life, or I'm a 4-0 for life, right? But showing them that they can actually improve, there's still things that you can work on to get to the next level. And I think because I've seen pretty much every level of the sport, from a beginner to professional, I think I can give a much better insight of what your actual limit is. Yes, there is a limit, of course. Like, you're not Superman, right? You can't just, suddenly be pro at 45 years old, but you can become a really good tennis player and maximize your potential. So I'm constantly on court with a lot of adults still, just trying to show them that you can be better than a 3-0 or a 4-0. You can, I promise. It just takes a little hard work.
Do you have anything that you would say is like, you look back and think this happened and maybe there was a positive
I think I can
outcome of it?
I think I can say that with everything that's happened to me, even with this whole situation. I think that I've really seen more awareness about this subject now, and I think that it's not just from me, it's from other people too. But I think I've really tried to bring more light and understanding to this, because it's such a scary part of tennis that a lot of people, again, like myself before, I just would alienate myself from it because it was so far away from me. I've, worked with the PTPA to come up with it's called the ACE fund. So basically, if you go through a situation like this, there's lawyers that are working pro bono on cases for tennis players. So if I, like, say it happened to me or something, or happened to you, you can contact the PTPA and they'll put you in contact with a lawyer, all for free.
That's
That's
great.
awesome.
To help you through.
Because you had no guidance.
No, nothing at all.
Yeah.
So everything was out of pocket, and it's expensive. Even when you speak to lawyers in the beginning, a couple $100 here, $1,000 here.
Yeah,
and
adds
then,
up.
by the time you get to your case, you're a couple $1,000 down, and it's difficult. And that makes it even more scary. And you actually have to think, how much is my innocence worth? How much am I willing to pay to prove that I'm innocent?
Right.
Which is, I don't think anyone should have to go through that.
And
so
some people can't.
no,
They just can't.
No, I know a lot of people who have just said I can't compete. I can't pay $50,000 for a lawyer, and that's
Yeah, they don't have the Sinner money to.
Yeah, I mean, not many people have Sinner's money.
Right.
But, you know, he's earned it, and he's, you know, number one in the world. So it's just like in real life, right? If you can pay for a better lawyer, you're going to have better defense. And it's completely understandable. But at the same time, even if you can't afford that, you still should be entitled to someone being able to help you.
Yeah, I agree.
So this fund's like something that's been really sort of dear to my heart, and it's been great to see that some players have already benefited from.
Yeah, you can help people.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's
that
great.
you turn this into helping others.
Yeah, there was a period of time where I didn't want to at all.
Well, I'm gonna say, I'm sure there were stages, right?
Yeah, 100%. There was definite stages. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, we want to end this with a couple rapid fire questions. Okay. What is your favorite tournament to play in?
Definitely Wimbledon.
Yes. Yeah. I think we know this now, but singles or doubles?
Honestly, I'd pick singles.
You would?
100%.
I was thinking you were going to say that.
I think more not just like, not to watch, because I actually enjoy watching doubles, and I do really enjoy playing doubles. I just would love to be able to play singles again, because I did for so many years, and I feel like I'm getting so old now. I'm getting so old. No, I'm getting to the point where singles is it's not possible. I mean, physically, because doubles is such a different game.
Yeah.
So you can kind of get away with it with your craftiness and stuff, but singles is so. I would just love to be able to play, you know, the singles that I was a couple years ago. Yeah.
Your current racket you're using?
I currently use a Babolat Pure Drive. Yeah, it's good. I've weighted it up though. It's heavy.
Is it?
Yeah, it's heavy.
What would you have a career in if it wasn't tennis?
I'd love to have been a criminal lawyer.
Oh.
Wait, this all like ties in.
Yeah, no, seriously. I think I would have been a good lawyer. I think I would have had a good sort of personality for it.
That's
I
so
like
interesting.
arguing.
Favorite place to travel?
Singapore.
Oh.
Yeah, that was like the best place I've ever been. Yeah, food was great. People are lovely, super clean.
Did you go there for tennis or?
Yes. So I actually did go there for tennis. Yeah. Actually, this year I went to Hobart, and I was
I don't
like,
know what that is.
I don't
it's a little island. Well, Tasmania.
Oh, okay.
Off of Australia, and I'm like trying to convince my girlfriend to move there.
Really?
But she says it's too far away, unfortunately. But,
I mean, it's as far away as you can
yeah,
get.
but I'm like,
it's
come on.
fine. It's warm.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
yeah.
You know, weather's good.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your favorite restaurant in the Indy area?
Indie area, good question. So I used to really like 1933 because I just love steak, but since all of the steak things, steak's been kind of.
What's your now go to?
So I recently just went to a buffet in Castleton.
Oh my God.
It's called Umi. It's called Umi, so it's an Asian buffet.
Okay.
It's actually really good. They've
Is
got a lot
it?
of seafood there. They've got like crab. They have like stone crab there, and it's non-expensive. And it's just, I'm so Asian. I just love like,
I'm so
and
Asian.
if you can have like cheap, good food, I'm there.
Yeah.
Cheap, good food.
It's fine. I don't know why you have this question on there, so I'm going to let you ask
Okay,
it.
what's your favorite soccer team?
Soccer team, Manchester United, even though they suck. At the moment, they
She's
suck.
a big soccer fan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know you were a soccer fan. Where's this question coming from? Wait, I won.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite professional tennis player?
Past or current?
Either. Both.
Male and female.
Yeah, I
Okay.
know. Let's just add 5 more questions to this.
So really, like at the moment, female, like I love watching Sabalenka. I think she's like incredibly interesting. Like she has personality. She's obviously incredibly good at tennis. Coco as well. I really enjoy watching her.
I just saw she's like the top earning female athlete.
Yeah,
across
and
all
so
sports.
she should be. Like, I mean, she's bringing so much attention to tennis, especially in the States. I think, you know, the first person a lot of people will bring up is Coco. And I think that she's also such a strong advocate for women's rights, for any sort of rights. She's just so, like, anytime you speak to her, she's great. She's really friendly and yeah, she's a really nice person. Yeah. Men. I don't watch that much men's tennis. So I try to not watch tennis unless it's like live. If it's live, I'll watch it. And you know, I'll watch, you know, Djokovic, I'll watch Sinner, I'll watch Alcaraz. I enjoy watching Alcaraz, I think, the most, because you just never know what you're going to get. He's incredible, an incredible athlete, and obviously Grand Slam champion. And sometimes he just loses his mind. And I find it really interesting because I relate. I really relate. More to the losing my mind side than the Grand Slam side, but you know. But yeah, I think he's really interesting. And Rublev too. He's also very fun to watch.
Yeah. I feel like he's wild.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, which is great. I think tennis needs that. Tennis needs personalities.
Yeah.
You know, it makes it interesting. And I think I'm a little bit more new age in the fact that when you put your personality out on the court, I think it's better to watch than just, you know, robots walking back and forth serving.
I totally
It's
agree
so
with
boring.
that.
Yeah. I want to see them get upset.
Like
I want
a
to see
real
them get
person.
happy.
Like,
Yeah.
blanking on that guy's name from Australia.
Oh, Kyrgios?
Yes, like whenever he had a run.
Yeah.
I think it was like a few years ago.
Yeah. He won the Australian Open doubles with Kokkinakis. Yeah, like
and I feel like that was so fun to watch because you don't know what you're getting.
exactly. You don't know what you're getting, and I think it's great. So I think that's makes tennis interesting.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
No, thank you for having me.
We'll have to link all of your stuff for people to get in touch if they want to do lessons
sounds
while you're
good.
here, because we know you're bopping around
all the time.
all the time. I love that.
Well, thank you.
No, thank you.